You have probably had entire conversations in your head that felt more honest than anything you said out loud. And somehow, that felt more real. Not because you are afraid of people, not because something is wrong with you, because your mind has always moved at a depth most people never reach. You may have been called quiet, too serious, too much in your head. But what if that was never the flaw? What if it was the sign of a mind built differently? This is not just about being introverted. It is about a certain kind of person, the kind who feels most like themselves when they are alone, the kind who can sit in silence and feel peace instead of emptiness, the kind who has always sensed, quietly, that they do not see the world the way most people do. If that is you, stay with this, because this will not feel like brand new information. It will feel like someone finally putting language to something you have always known. First, let's clear something up. Preferring your own company does not mean you are lonely. Thinking before you speak does not mean you are awkward. Choosing silence over small talk does not mean you are cold. Those are not weaknesses. They are not defects, and they are not things that need to be fixed. What is happening inside you is more interesting than most people ever stop long enough to understand. The world tends to reward speed, quick reactions, quick answers, quick charm. Loudness became the thing people trusted. Constant socializing became the thing people called healthy. But that was never your measure, and somewhere inside, you have always known that. You are not broken. You are not difficult. You are not too much to handle. You are operating with a different internal design, and that difference deserves to be understood instead of mislabeled. You have probably noticed that you process things differently. When something happens, other people seem to react immediately. They speak fast, they decide fast, they move on fast. But you do something else. You carry it. You turn it over. You look at it from more than one angle. And sometimes, hours later, or days later, you arrive at an insight so clear you wonder why no one else saw it sooner. That is not overthinking. That is depth. You have probably noticed something else too. Certain environments exhaust you, not because you dislike people, because being around people often asks you to stay outward, to respond, to keep up, to remain available. And when you finally get home, when the door closes behind you, something in you exhales. Not because you escaped people, because you returned to yourself. You may also have a very small inner circle, maybe one or two people who truly know you, and those connections feel enormous to you, deep, lasting, while surface-level connection can feel strangely empty, like touching the outside of something without ever entering it. You care deeply, just not broadly, and that difference is something many people never understand. You have probably also felt the quiet frustration of watching people move past depth without even noticing it was there, watching them fill every silence, rush every thought, leave every conversation right at the surface, while you sit there holding layers of meaning they never even seem to notice. And over time, you learn to keep certain thoughts to yourself, not because you have nothing to say, because not every mind is a place where something deep can land. Here is where it gets interesting. There is a reason your mind works this way. Some people move through an experience and take in only what is obvious. You do something different. You take in the tone, the atmosphere, the hidden meaning, the thing underneath the thing. The same room can affect you more deeply. The same conversation can stay with you longer. The same piece of music can feel heavier, richer, more alive. That does not mean you are fragile. It means your mind processes more. And when a mind processes more, it needs more space to sort through what it has taken in. That is why silence matters to you. Not because silence is empty, because silence is where your mind finally catches up with itself. There is another part of this too. A lot of people feel rewarded by stimulation, noise, movement, new people, constant activity. But your system seems to be rewarded by something else: depth, understanding, meaning, internal experience. That is why one real conversation can feel more energizing than an entire room full of people. That is why you can spend time alone without feeling bored. Your system is not broken. It is simply pointed inward, and inward is often where the most meaningful things live. The way you handle emotion is different too. Most people process emotion outward. They talk quickly, react quickly, release it quickly. You do something else. You feel something, and you go quiet. Not because the feeling is small, because it is large enough that you need space before you can name it. That is often misunderstood. People think silence means distance, but sometimes silence means the feeling is too real to speak too soon. You probably feel things for longer than most people do. A conversation can stay with you. A moment can stay with you. A sentence from years ago can still live quietly in your mind, still being worked through. You do not move past experiences quickly. You absorb them, then you digest them. Your thinking moves the same way. You do not stop at what happened. You start asking what it means. Where someone else sees one event, you may see a pattern. Where someone else hears one story, you may hear an entire structure underneath it. This is not arrogance. It is simply how your mind makes sense of the world. It looks for meaning. It looks for connection. It looks for the deeper thread. And because of that, you are often slower to respond, but faster to understand. Not because you are behind, because you are going deeper. Your energy works differently too. For some people, social interaction is fuel. The more they are around people, the more alive they feel. For you, it often works the other way. Even good interaction can cost something. Even meaningful connection can take energy. Not because it is bad, because it is immersive. You are not just hearing people, you are taking them in. That is why solitude matters. It is not just a preference, it is recovery. It is the place where your system resets, the place where your thoughts settle, the place where you stop carrying what the outside world has put on you. That is why being alone can feel less like withdrawal and more like return. You are not escaping yourself there. You are coming back to yourself. But here is the harder question. Is this peace or is it protection? Because there is a version of solitude that is deeply healthy, a version where you are alone because your inner world is full, because silence restores you, because space helps you think clearly. But there is another version that can look almost identical. A version where being alone starts to feel easier than being understood, where distance becomes more comfortable than disappointment, where solitude stops being a choice and quietly becomes a defense. That is what makes this difficult. From the outside, both versions look the same. A quiet person, a closed door, a peaceful life. But inside, they are not the same at all. One is restoration. The other is self-protection, and sometimes both can live in the same person. This is not something to shame yourself for. It is simply something to be honest about, because the people who think deeply are also very good at explaining their own patterns in beautiful ways, even when those patterns were built out of pain. So maybe the real question is not just whether you prefer solitude. Maybe it is this: are you alone by design or by default? And do you know the difference? Here is what I want you to understand. The world keeps asking people like you to be louder, quicker, simpler, more outward. Maybe you have tried. Maybe you have performed an easier version of yourself just to make life smoother. But here is the truth. The qualities that have been treated like inconveniences may actually be your strengths. The ability to sit in silence without needing to fill it, that is rare. The ability to stay with depth instead of skimming the surface, that is rare too. The ability to feel slowly, carefully, honestly, that is not weakness, that is depth. You do not just meet people, you notice them. You hear the slight change in tone. You catch the contradiction in what they say. You feel what shifts in a room before anyone names it. That is not oversensitivity. That is a form of intelligence. And the time you have spent alone with your own thoughts, that is not wasted time. That is practice. Practice in understanding the interior life of a human being, starting with your own. Most people spend their lives avoiding that interior. You have spent years living near it. Yes, sometimes that depth feels heavy. Sometimes you wish you could be lighter, easier, less serious. But the mind that stays with complexity is often the mind that reaches the deepest clarity. You think differently because you process differently. You are alone more because your inner world is rich enough to inhabit. You hold back in conversation because what you have to say deserves the right moment. Not just any moment, and the right person, the person who finally sits across from you and asks something real, will understand almost immediately that there is more happening inside you than most people ever noticed. There is a kind of mind the world underestimates quietly. It gets called shy, strange, too much, not enough. You have probably been that mind, and the fact that you have made it this far in a world that keeps asking you to be louder and simpler, while still remaining true to how you actually are, that is not something to dismiss. That is something to recognize. Quietly, the way you do everything,